this presentation is for the element distinctness problem, and this is for the course COT 5405. So in this presentation, we are going to see what an element distinctness problem is and also define the lower bound for this problem. So let's first see what actually an element distinctness problem is. So when you consider the following two arrays, 1, 3, 4, 7, and the other array is 2, 4, 2, 5. So when you use the element distinctness problem, you get yes as the answer for this. And when you use the same algorithm for on this array, you get the answer no. So it's because all the elements in this array are distinct. So that's the reason you get yes. Here 2 is repeated twice. So the element distinctness problem gives us the answer no. So we know that when you sort an array, the lower bound is omega n log n. So how do we get to the conclusion? Is it's omega n log n. So when you consider the decision tree model, here we are assuming that n is equal to 3. So let's consider this array 1, 2, and 3. So here n is equal to 3. So it actually leads us to n factorial permutations. Or so when you look at all those n factorial permutations and use a decision tree with the following operations like less than or equal to and greater than, you can see that we end up having 6 root nodes. So R1, R2, R3, R1, R2, R3, R4, R5, and R6. So we know that uh, a sorting, leads us to n factorial leaf nodes, so that then we know that the lower bound for the sorting algorithm is log of n factorial. That leads us to log omega of n log n. That leads to omega n log n. So coming to the element distinctness problem, we only have two outcomes of permutations, right? Which is nothing but one is yes and the other one is no. So when you use those two outcomes of permutations, you end up having log of 2 that's equal to 1. So this is not acceptable, or this is quite silly, because when you sort an array, and you go through the elements of the array and check the elements side by side, we can actually get to know that if they are distinct or not, right? So the sorting itself takes an omega n log n time complexity, right? So the lower bound for the element distinctness problem cannot be log of 2 is equal to 1. So in order to prove that the lower bound for element distinctness problem is omega n log n, uh, we'll uh, we'll assume that there must be n factorial leaves, all leading to yes. So here yes means that it says that the elements in the array are distinct. So this is our claim one. This is our actual claim. So if we prove this claim, then we can say that similar to the decision tree model, our lower bound is going to be log of n factorial, and it's going to lead us to omega of n log n. So in order to prove this claim, that there exists a tree that leads us to n factorial leaves, everything is a yes. So in order to support this claim, our proof is as follows. So first, we consider our input, which is the array, as multiple coordinates in an n-dimensional space, and we make sure that So here, for example, x is nothing but x1, x2, x3 followed by xn. So each coordinate, represents one element in an array. So this, it's inside an n-dimensional space, and also we make sure that, we restrict this space to an unit cube space. So unit uh, n cube space, and also we take another restriction. So that is, we say that the xi, lies between 0 and 1. So once, we are just assuming this to make things simple. So if this proof is valid under this restriction, then it means that, it's going to be valid, even if we don't consider this restriction. So we can't actually represent an n-dimensional space. So we'll just assume that, it is a two-dimensional space. So here we consider, n is equal to 2. So when you look at this two-dimensional space, let's say this is x1 axis and this is x2 axis. So this is a the cubic dimensional space. And when you look at this line, so when you consider any point on this line, it's going to be x1 is equal to x2. So that means that, this says that, the elements inside the array are not distinct. So the element distinctness problem is going to give us an answer no. And, if a point lies anywhere in this, any region, this one, and also in this region, we know that, the points are not going to be the same, are not going to be same. Then, we get an answer yes. So this region and this region gives us a yes, and, this line gives us a no. So these are interpretation, and in order to prove this statement, we are again going to have two major claims. So the first claim is RFL is convex. We make this claim RFL is convex, and the other claim is, we consider two instances, so x and y, you know, and we consider that, they are distinct elements. And also we make sure that, y is a non-trivial permutation of x. So if we assume this claim, assume this statement, then, both x and y should reach to, different nodes, right? Different parts of the nodes, which gives us an answer yes, because, they are distinct. Okay. So these are two major claims. So coming to the first claim, first let us understand, what actually uh, convex is, and, also what RFL is. Okay. So what do we mean by RFL? So let's say this is the root node. Okay. This is the root node, and we after multiple executions, after this execution, the less than execution, we reach this node. In a similar fashion, after multiple executions, let's say we reach L, and, this is a different path, and this is a different path in the node. So RFL, is nothing but it means that, after multiple executions on X, we reach L. So this is what, RFL represents, this path. And coming to the other definition, convex. So let's consider an example of torus here. So let's say, this space is defined by R, and, we take 2 points X and Y. So, X and Y both are, belongs to R, both X and Y. So here, both X comma Y belongs to R. So if there exists a path, uh, in a straight line, then, we can say that, that particular region is convex, and the path is supposed to be inside R. So when you look at this torus, and when you consider saying that the point X is here, so this torus is not convex because this region doesn't belong to R, but there is no straight line path between X and Y through R. So a torus is not convex. So there's another definition called connected. So connected is nothing but rather than having a straight line path, we'll just have a path, and the path can be of any shape. So when you assume that, then a torus is connected because let's say the point X is here, then from here to here, there's a path, right? But it is not a straight line, but it's on a circular fashion. So torus is connected, but it is not convex. But when you look at a cube is convex because there exists a straight line path between 2 points in through the region R. So in order to prove RFL is convex, we consider various instances X and Y. X and Y. So and execution of X and also Y leads us to L. Okay, X and Y. So X has multiple points, and Y also have multiple points. Okay, and also we'll consider another instance Z, and assume that this lies on the path X and Y, and we are making sure that each instance of Z follows this combination. So Z of I is equal to lambda of X of I plus 1 minus lambda into Y of I, and here lambda's value can be between 0 and 1. So let's say on execution 1, you come across X, you come across the operation less than. Uh, you come across the operation less than. That means that we know that xi is less than xj, and under execution 2, we know that we y also lies on the same path as of where X lies. So it also, comes under the branch, less than. So we know that, Yi is less than Yj. Now, if we prove that, Zi also lies and follows the same pattern, then we can say that, all the points lie on the path R of L, and, we can say that, there exists a straight line path between the multiple instances of points, and say that R of L is convex. So what we do is we multiply lambda for this value, and we multiply with 1 minus lambda for this equation, and we add both those equations. So when we do that, we end up having xi of lambda plus yi of 1 minus lambda is less than xj of lambda plus yj of 1 minus lambda. So when we do this, we end up having zi is less than zj. So once we come to the conclusion, after the execution of the z instance as well, we end up, we know that, z also lies on the line x, where the instance x and y falls. So with this, we can say that, R of L is actually convex. So that is our first claim. So the first claim, we have proved it, saying that, R of L is convex. So coming to our second claim, we know that, we assume that, X and Y has distinct elements, and we say that, Y is a non-trivial permutation of X, and, uh, when you execute each instance X and Y, both reach to, different leaf nodes. So when we prove this claim, then we can say that, there can be n factorial leaf nodes, and you get to have, the lower bound is omega n log n. So we actually, prove this claim by contradiction, saying that, both x and y lie on the same line, and, same line, and, both x and y leads to the same leaf node. So once we use this claim, we know that, R of L is connected from our previous claim. So we know that, that means that, there exists a path for x and y, uh, and when you, there's a path definitely for sure. And, when you use that path, you will definitely for sure reach the leaf node L. Okay. Now, as we are proving this by contradiction, we are supposed to go against it. So what we'll do is, we'll show that, there exists another point Z. It lies same on the same path where X and Y lie. And, when you prove that, Z leads us to an answer no rather than to the answer yes, then we can say that, both X and Y, uh, rather than, having the same path, we can say that, X leads us to a different leaf node like L1, and, Y leads us to a different leaf node like L. Okay, so let's see how we come to the conclusion. So in order to prove this, we make another claim where we say that, there exists an I and j such that x of I is less than xj, and y of I is greater than yj. So we will prove this claim later. Coming to this, we also define a function called f of w, that is equal to wi minus wj. So when you apply this function on the instances x and y, you end up having f of x is less than 0 because xi is less than xj, and f of y is greater than 0. So by mean value theorem, we can, say that there exists an instance or a point such that f of, you know, z is equal to 0, right? So if f of z is equal to 0, then it means that, the elements, the elements of this array or, instance is equal. So zi is equal to zj. They are not distinct. Then it means that, it leads to an answer no, right? So we got a contradiction here. So what do you mean by this contradiction? So we have assumed that, this is the path here. So let's say x. So this is the root node. So this is the root node that we have here, and this is the path, and this is the leaf node that we are supposed to reach. So we assume that, there exists a point x and also y on the same path, and both of these points lead us to L. But with the help of our contradiction, we got to know that, there exists a point Z as well, but the answer is no. But the leaf node, is actually supposed to give us an answer of yes. So what we can say is that, there exists a different path for Y, like something like this that gives, that when we follow that path, we reach L1, a different leaf node. So by proving this claim, we can say that, there might be n factorial leaves. There can be n factorial leaves or greater than n factorial leaves for this. So once we get the n factorial leaves, we can say that, the lower bound is omega of n log n. So, so we are still supposed to prove this subclaim. So the whole thing, the whole contradiction theory applies only when this subclaim is satisfied. So let's take a look, how we can prove this claim, subclaim. So let's consider an array X where X is equal to 10, 3, 99, and 2. And we know that, Y is nothing but, a non-trivial permutation of X, right? So let's say, Y is a permutation and, it is like 99, 2, 3, and 10. So now we know we apply the sorting algorithm on X. Let's say, pi of X is a sorting algorithm. And, once you sort this, let's say this is the lower index, this is the least element, right? The lowest element, 2. And this is at the index position 4. So that, we are actually moving the index position 4 to 1. So this one permutation, right? So, so this one permutation. So when you sort this whole array X, we end up having 2, 3, 99. Sorry, 2. It is going to be 2, 3, 10, and 99. So when you apply the same sorting algorithm on Y, we end up having this array that is 10, 2, 99, 3. The reason being that we actually moved the element that is located at 4 to 1. So when you do the same thing for Y as well, the element located at 4 to 1. So you see, we move the value 10 to the index position 1. Okay. So when you uh, consider this, let's say we know that, X array pi of X is actually, in an increasing order because it is sorted, right? So we definitely know that, pi of Xi is less than pi of Xj, right? Uh, so let's consider the first two elements, 2 and 3. So here, 2 is less than 3. So when you look at Y, we end up having, 10 is greater than 2. So our subclaim has been proven. So when we consider all the claims, we can say that, the lower bound for the element distinctness problem is omega n log n.